Chapter 1 Viper 2048 Nighttime. In the suburbs, a blanket of snow silently covers the rusted facilities of an abandoned circus. Once a popular attraction, this place was forced to shut down several years ago after a wanderer-related incident. Few remember it even exists nowadays, or so it seems. In the circus's southwest corner, and beyond a faded clown statue's gaping mouth, a sinister performance unfolds. On a red and white checkerboard stage, massive prison cells adorned with golden ribbons stand at irregular intervals. These cages, once meant for wild beasts, now hold something far more precious. Small, huddled figures. This is the stronghold of the city's largest human trafficking organization, Viridilis. Their iron grip on the market stems from their tight security, overwhelming influence, and very important stock of rare, young evolvers. But tonight, this supposedly impenetrable fortress of depravity is crumbling, all thanks to a single person. Now then, who wants to start our little game? Sitting cross-legged atop a cage, a young man wears a clown mask that covers half his face. He rests his chin on his hand. Beneath the mask, his snake-like eyes crinkle with interest. The revolver spins playfully between his fingers before being pointed at the stage below. The gun has 6 chambers, but only 2 bullets. 1 shot each. Whoever survives can leave. What do you think? In the VIP section, the crimson seats are stained with their occupants' blood, which makes the red more vibrant. These so-called elite guests who came to hunt for human prey left life stage before they could even wipe the greed from their faces. Now only 2 remain in the hall. The auction manager and their true boss. Their faces are as white as a sheet of paper, and they're trembling uncontrollably. Please, please don't kill. Bang! The man's voice is cut off. Neither bowing his head that was once held high with pride nor begging for mercy had earned him the chance to live. You don't need to be so loud. The young man cleans his ear with his pinky finger. I just got this new flexible earpiece. If I had known you'd be noisy, I would have asked Father to add noise-canceling features. Viper hops down from the birdcage. Carefree, he walks across the floor that's soaked in blood. Then he points the gun toward the last person standing. He ran out of luck. Now it's your turn. Your odds of survival are 4 to 5 in favor. Very fortunate. Although he broke out in a cold sweat, Viridilis' boss is more composed than his panic-stricken manager as he confronts this mysterious madman. Years of weathering various storms have taught him that much, at least. Shall we make a deal? You can have anything you want. You're talented since you managed to break into Viridilis' base by yourself. Why not work for me? I'll pay triple what your employer offers. That sounds tempting. Let me think. The young man places the gun under his chin and pretends to weigh the pros and cons. As a glimmer of hope appears in the man's eyes, a wicked grin appears on Viper's face, and he flicks out a forked tongue. Ha! Just kidding. Bang! Ah! Terror strips away the man's last shred of dignity as he screams. But the expected pain never comes. His eyes widen. Streamers from the gun barrel rain down and land on his body. Surprise! Ha! His reaction seems to have thoroughly amused Viper. Viper leans against the cage and doubles over. Good. You let me get a kick out of that, so I'll let you go. Just this once, though. Now get out. He waves his hand dismissively at the man. Ignoring the chaos around him, Viridilis' leader scrambles toward the exit. His eyes flash with barely contained malice. Once he's out, that lunatic is dead. He'll make sure the psychopath dies without a trace, no matter the cost. But just as his foot is about to cross the circus's threshold, a playing card pierces the back of his skull. You couldn't even say goodbye? How rude! Viper drops the remaining cards to the floor and turns away. Disinterested, he walks toward his real target for tonight. He stops near a cage that's standing in the corner of the stage. He leans down to peer through the bars. There's a little girl with tears running down her cheeks. As for you, kid, with a wave of his hand, a magician's suitcase appears inside the cage. I'll be taking you to go. Chapter 2 Touring Cybernetics Institute. On a suburban street somewhere in Skyhaven, a dark green sports car roars into a black vehicle parked by the roadside. It forcefully claims its spot and situates itself within the white parking lines. Heh, finding a parking space isn't easy. Leather suitcase in hand, Viper steps out of the smoking vehicle. This luxury sports car, which Viridilus's leader had traded 3 rare Creatura-class evolvers to obtain, lasted less than 3 hours in his possession before being destroyed. But he couldn't care less. He has more important matters to attend to. Viper looks at the towering research institute. A hint of anticipation appears on his face. Deep within the laboratory of the Turing Cybernetics Institute, several researchers are gathered around an experimental chamber. They're concentrated on taking notes. Before them stands a massive white room with 6 mechanical arms suspended from the ceiling. It operates inside the unit. Right arm bionic nerve interface complete. Compatibility readings are good. I can't believe he actually survived this, a researcher remarks, their gaze fixed on the digital display. The hydraulics and the mechanical arms emit a soft hum. 3 holographic screens hover around the operating table. They render neural maps of the subject's brain activity in real time. The Turing Cybernetics Institute, one of EVER's research divisions that specializes in human body augmentation research and human-machine interactions, possesses the world's most advanced bionic technology. Its director, Dr. L, stands as the leading authority in the field. The white-haired elderly man stands before the white experimental chamber. His brow is furrowed as he looks down at the young man confined within the cryogenic unit. The laboratory's harsh overhead lights cascade and fragment Caleb's pale face into a mosaic of light and shadow. Respiratory rate is 14 breaths per minute. Brainwave patterns are normal. Turing chip initialization in progress. Mechanical arm synchronization is being calibrated. Nanothreads from the mechanical arm cover Caleb's right arm like a silver spider web. As dead nerves reconnect and the newly formed mechanical fingers flex unconsciously, his eyelashes suddenly flutter. His muscles tense involuntarily, and a suppressed groan escapes his throat. The warning light on the digital display flashes once again. System error. Chip reading failed. Unable to access primary consciousness. Chip reinitializing chip processes. Memory input. Another failure. It's been 3 days, and the Turing chip is yet to analyze the entirety of his consciousness. The researcher's fingertip glides across the digital screen. The synapses representing pain perception are oscillating at a high frequency. Even in a comatose state, the body continues to actively resist the chip's influence. This should be impossible for someone in a coma. I've never seen anyone with mental defenses of this caliber. You could even say that the fighter pilots at the Deep Space Aviation Administration might not have this level of psychological resilience. Just who is he? Professor Lucius's gaze returns to the experimental chamber. 3 days ago, there was an explosion in the Bloomshore district. He retrieved Caleb from the rubble before the laboratory's personnel could arrive. Caleb is test subject 002, whom former unicorn researcher Josephine hid away. When he was brought to the Turing Cybernetics Institute, he was already on death's door. It's strange. According to Professor Lucius's analysis on the explosion, Caleb shouldn't have been this severely injured. It seems he used his evol to contain the blast radius, which caused him to bear the brunt of the damage. Professor Lucius recalls the state Caleb was in when he arrived. Fragments of a broken communication device were still lodged in his collar, which had been stained in blood. Perhaps this was the last piece of evidence that proves his attempt to contact someone before the explosion. Professor, should we continue with the decryption? The researcher's hesitant voice pulls Lucius away from his thoughts. Yes. Understood. Preparing for a 429th restart. Suddenly, someone pounds on the laboratory window. Everyone turns their head. A snake-like face with a flicking tongue is pressed against the glass. Seeing Professor Lucius look his way, Viper cheerfully raises the leather suitcase in his hand and waves it around. His lips move in an exaggerated manner. Open up, Father. I brought back the person you wanted. For Viper, the word father meant nothing for a very long time. His childhood memories are sparse. It wasn't because they were forgotten, but because they were too boring. Before his adoption, his memories were nothing but a viscous darkness. Most of the time, he was crammed into a tiny shipping crate with other merchandise. He had no name at the time. His existence was represented only by a cold serial number. As a Serpent's class evolver, 2961 had evol genes that were homologous with snake DNA. Specifically, they were similar to the DNA found in the Viperidae family. These genes gave him regenerative abilities. He can also produce venom. Initially, 2961 was trafficked as an ordinary child on the streets. Then one day, A buyer accidentally cut his finger. Before everyone's eyes, the wound writhed as skin and blood vessels were regenerated. From then on, he became the main attraction at the Evolver trading base. What a bargain. Cutting off a leg triples the ticket price. Save some for later. Cut off small pieces. We can use them many times. The owner designed package deals for him. Audience members could pay extra to choose which body part to cut. Fingers were the most popular choice. They were delicate and easy to break, and their nerve endings would twitch for over 10 minutes during regeneration. It was like a miniature theater performance. The severed parts would heal quickly, but never completely regenerate. Amid their laughter and shouts, 2961 gradually lost pieces of himself. His feet were the first to go, then his left hand. Pain terrified 2961. He wanted to beg for mercy, but when the agony became unbearable, even screaming was a luxury. The constant torment finally ended when Father appeared. His hand pressed against the glass. The lines in his palm blurred Viper's bloodstained reflection like a gentle illusion. Sir, everything here is defective and waiting to be disposed of. We have better, more premium merchandise. I want this child. He's perfect. He just needs time to metamorphose. He spoke to 2961. Come with me. We'll become family, and you'll be reborn. From now on, I'll be your father. What was a father? Was it those eyes that watched him through the glass? Was it the person who scribbled clearance sale in the ledger? Family are those who will never betray you, Father said. Ever since then, 2961 had a name of his own. Father called him Viper and brought him to his laboratory. He stitched his festering wounds and replaced his mutilated limbs with mechanical parts. During Viper's long period of numbness, he felt a different kind of warmth for the first time. He only knew of Death's warm touch until that moment. You will be my most perfect child, Professor Lucius said, his eyes fixed on the screen displaying data before him. Viper, you're closer to being the perfect human compared to everyone else. With these high body compatibility rates, Caleb will be our most perfect masterpiece. In the laboratory, the researcher excitedly announces the results while checking his records. And in the very next second, a pale hand grabs his throat before he can say more. Expressionless, Viper tightens his grip. He lifts the man above his head until only desperate choking sounds escape. Let him go, Viper. Professor Lucius's voice resounds behind them. Viper lets out an aloof snort but willingly obeys. Before throwing the terrified researcher to the ground, Viper bares his fangs at the scared expression. After putting an end to the commotion, Lucius turns his attention downward. The suitcase Viper brought back is open. Inside it, a small girl is curled up in a ball. Bewildered, she stares at her surroundings. Don't be afraid. You're safe now. Professor Lucius bends down and reaches for the girl. He intends to help her stand, but before his hand reaches her, she flails her hand around to block him off, as if shocked by electricity. Viper's eyes narrow menacingly as he speaks in a bone-chilling tone. If you don't want that hand, we can cut it off. Under his gaze, the girl shudders and immediately stops crying. Scared, she hugs herself. Seeing this, Viper lets out a satisfied grunt and turns to Lucius as if waiting for praise. But his face falls as he realizes his foster father isn't looking at him. He's bending down once again to try and help that annoying kid. Welcome home, my child. Under his gentle reassurance, the girl slowly calms down. She looks up at the elderly man before her, and confusion flickers in her eyes. Home? That's right. From now on, we'll be your family. Lucius, like a real, kind father, reaches up to wipe away a smudge from the girl's face. Observing the child in the professor's arms, Viper smiles. The grin possesses unconcealed malice. Let's see if she survives first. That'll determine whether or not she's family. Viper. Viper's entire body goes rigid, and he turns away without another word. Before you meet everyone else, I think you should get some rest, Lucius tells the girl. Today's tests are over. Take this child downstairs to rest. He places the girl, who's still pale because of Viper's aggression, into a researcher's arms. Yes, Professor. Only after all the researchers have left does Lucius pull out a silk handkerchief from his pocket. He meticulously wipes his fingers before carelessly tossing the priceless fabric into the trash. Finally, Lucius slowly turns to face Viper. Sit in the operating chair. Okay. Chapter 4. Orphan. Lucius walks to Viper's side and bends down to unwrap the hastily applied bandage on his hand. On Viper's right hand, where his index finger should be, there's nothing but empty space. It's an injury from when he detonated the explosives in the circus during the mission. In just one day, what was once a bloody wound is already covered with newly regenerated tissue. The commotion you caused was too much this time. I only ordered you to bring the person back, nothing more. I ran into a tiny problem. Viper's face shows a trace of fake helplessness. You should take better care of your body, child. After all, it's the only part of you that's still truly yours. Does it matter? I'm a coward when pain's involved. Once everything is replaced with mechanical parts, I won't feel anything anymore. Viper shows pure indifference. A snake sheds its skin countless times throughout its life. Each separation from its old shell marks another rebirth. Over 75% of your body is just cybernetic modifications. A high replacement rate will gradually erode your brain's ability to maintain self-awareness. This is not something I want to see, Viper. Lucius had already halted his modification experiments when Viper's surgery failure rate reached 55%. Lucius turns to the laboratory rack. Mechanical components and prosthetic limbs are meticulously arranged on it. Upon getting a closer look, one can even see intricate vein-like patterns on these artificial limbs. They're nearly indistinguishable from real ones. He takes a white toolbox from the shelf. The modification technology is still not perfect. I need you to maintain cognition and keep me informed about your senses and condition. Lucius raises his head. The bright laboratory lights catch the metal circuits at his temple, and they cast a gloomy, cold gleam. Don't disappoint me, my child. You know very well that this family has no place for those who don't contribute. I understand, Father. With a crisp click, dozens of mechanical arms extend from the case. They begin to scan and create their analysis of the severed finger's wound. Then, Lucius selects a slightly lighter prosthetic from the rack and approaches Viper. Manipulating the mechanical arms, he reopens the wound that's now healed. It's where Viper's index finger had been. The fresh gash in his hands begins healing the moment it's cut. To prevent it from closing too quickly, Lucius uses special rubber clamps to hold the flesh in place. Viper watches his wound without blinking. The laboratory's cold lights, like the metal pins used in surgery, mount his shadow against the metal wall. The prosthetic connects to bone. One by one, severed nerves connect with synthetic neural material until his brain can fully control the cold metal. Viper flexes his newly replaced index finger before finally turning his gaze to the nearby experimental chamber. Father, why is he here? Faced with the sudden question, Lucius's expression remains unchanged. Are you curious about him? I should show some concern for the guy Father has been thinking about for years, shouldn't I? Viper recognized Caleb the moment he first saw him in the pod. Even after 4 years, he could never forget that detestable face. Chapter 5. Former Acquaintance. 4 years ago, Bloomshore District, Lincoln City. Caleb, 21 years old. Parents are unknown. Currently enrolled in the DAA-affiliated Aerospace Academy. Third-year student. Comprehensive aerial tactics competition champion 3 times in a row. The only recipient of special excellence in heavy space cruiser certification in the past decade. What kind of worthless competition is that? I've never heard of it. Viper leans against a tree and glances at the documents in his hand. But after reading a few lines, he closes the display. He's plagued with obvious boredom. Father considers him a rare talent because of some obscure certification? What an absurd, arbitrary judgment. Remembering the admiration in Lucius's voice when talking about Caleb, Viper lets out an irritated scoff. Recently, Skyhaven offered an extremely challenging assessment that was designed by the Deep Space Aviation Administration. Even professional deep space pilots purportedly struggled with it. Yet a third-year student somehow managed to break the all-time record. I thought he'd be extraordinary. Turns out he's ordinary. It's a waste of time to sneak out behind Father's back. Viper mockingly raises an eyebrow as he watches the young man outside the convenience store. He's chatting and laughing with a girl. Isn't that sweet? He and his girlfriend are on a date. The young man says something to the girl, gently pats her head, and walks toward the opposite side of the street. Watching Caleb's retreating figure, Viper's lips curl into a malicious smile. I wonder if she'd still like him after he gets beaten to a pulp. The bakery's glass door chimes as Caleb walks out with a brown paper bag. In the midsummer heat, the young man wears a sleeveless shirt. The necklace with an apple-shaped pendant sways gently around his neck with every step. Viper lurks in the shadow of a Sephora tree and waits for the perfect moment to strike. Caleb turns into an alley. Perfect. Viper's mind races as he silently follows him, but what awaits him is an empty dead end. Where did he go? Viper's eyes dart around. Hey, did you have enough fun following me? We covered 3 blocks already. Aren't you tired? Above, a clear voice rings out. Viper jerks his head up to meet Caleb's somewhat playful gaze. Stalking me from my doorstep. Do you want to carry my shopping bags? Even after being discovered, Viper remains unfazed. He tilts his head and studies Caleb. His interest is obvious. How did you notice me? Caleb leaps down from the wall and lands gracefully before Viper. You aren't exactly trying to mask your presence. I've never seen you around before, though. Since you've been following me for a while, do you need something? Caleb remains composed. He brushes off imaginary dust and puts his hands behind his head to deliberately draw out the moment. His nonchalant response intrigues Viper. Who I am doesn't matter, and I'm following you because... Viper's fingertips transform into blades. They whistle through the air and head straight for Caleb's face. Take a guess! But the expected impact never comes. Shocked, Viper stares at his hand. Unable to move, it's just centimeters away from Caleb's face. Huh? Before he can process anything, a strong gravitational force slams him into the ground. Mechanical parts from his body spring loose. Electrified bolts roll into the depths of the alley. Using your evil like that, it's not fair. Fight me one-on-one if you have the guts, bastard. Oh? Gravity binds his limbs like chains. Pinned down, Viper can't lift his head to look at Caleb's expression. All he can see is a pair of black sneakers slowly approach. For someone who's fond of sneak attacks, I thought you'd appreciate unfair tricks. Stop following me. The reason doesn't matter. If I catch you again, I can't guarantee you'll walk away next time. You think I'll stop just because of a few words? Who do you think you are? You're a century too early to be giving me orders. Despite being pinned to the ground, Viper's defiance only grows more pronounced. In that case... Caleb's voice becomes cold. I'll have to. Ring, ring. A phone call interrupts him. Caleb pauses. Then Viper hears his tone shift to warm amusement. Hello? Why are you calling me all of a sudden? Are you getting tired of waiting? Viper's confused. What's going on? Thanks to his newly installed high-definition earpiece, Viper can hear the voice on the other end of the phone. Sorry, I saw a model ship. I couldn't resist checking it out, you know. I'm on my way. Yeah, okay. Let's meet at the garden by the intersection. On the ground, Viper has never been so blatantly ignored in his life. Rage burns in his chest. Caleb, you... Before he can finish, his face is shoved into the pavement again. A puzzled female voice comes through the earpiece. What was that? Oh, nothing. I accidentally knocked over a few parts while I was looking at some kits. Really? Caleb's face falls on Viper. Then it shifts with practiced indifference. Yeah, it's just a set of reptilian-like components. Beep, beep, beep. The harsh alarm pulls Viper away from his thoughts. The laboratory door slides open as several researchers in white uniforms walk in. Viper turns his head as he senses a new presence. He meets an unnervingly cold gaze from within the experimental chamber. Ah, Caleb. We meet again. A chilling smile creeps across Viper's lips. It widens by the second.